Hi, welcome to Murf+E Unfiltered, Zero BS Biz Talk. I'm Kathleen Murphy, and I'm here with my co-host, Eliot Grossman. How are you, Eliot?
Murph, I am doing great. It is so good to be back in the studio, see the studio audience again. It is good to be here.
It's fantastic to have you back today. I really appreciate you being here, of course. And today we're going to talk about something that I think that you'll appreciate as a topic, because it's something that I'm sure not only you, but I have embraced for a really long time. And we're going to be talking about who's your champion. And I think that it's really critical as a topic for us to cover and unpack this because it's so important for people to recognize the importance of the fact that somebody needs to have a champion. So what we're going to talk about today is the word champion can take on a variety of different definitions. And in the case of how I'm defining it today is that I'm referring to the person that no matter what, they're there for you. They have your back under any circumstance. And they're someone who is the ultimate cheerleader for you. Now, some of my other definitions of who might be a champion would be your parents, potentially, perhaps a teacher, perhaps a coach of some sort, perhaps a colleague, someone that you have a work connection with, maybe a friend. And in terms of defining your champion, I feel that they are someone who has an unwavering belief in the fact that you can do whatever it is that you are setting out to do, and that they're always there for you. And I think back to the first instance when I think I recognized that I had a champion in my sort of camp, if you will. And it was at camp, and I was sailing, and I was petrified to sail, and I was never really a great sailor. And knowing that, especially in a circumstance where I felt really nervous about doing something and falling out of the boat and capsizing and all kinds of other things that could potentially happen, running into things when you're sailing. Mm-hmm. Mind you, it was a very tiny boat, about the size of a rowboat, so we're not talking about any kind of a fancy boat. Mm-hmm. But knowing that that camp counselor was there for me, and that I knew he wouldn't let those things happen was really incredibly reassuring. And I thought back to, that was probably my earliest recognition of knowing that I had a champion. And I was probably around maybe 10 years old, something to that effect. And I think, that it's incredibly important in terms of having people understand why they need to have a champion. And when did you realize you had a champion, and who maybe was that person in your life?
So I was probably a little older than you, but I started when I grew up working at 13, cleaning a bakery, scrubbing floors, scrubbing pans. It was awful work, terrible work, really hard work. But the owner of the company, who kind of for some reason had a belief in me, and we ended up working together for 15 years. We're still very close friends. But what I appreciate the most about him, was he's not only what I consider a mentor and an incredible friend that would be there and probably take a bullet for me, but the fact that he'd say, hey, listen, you're screwing up. Enough of it. Or you're not leaving. Stop complaining, because you're not leaving till the job's done. When I was younger. Right. Later on in life, when I started working for him and selling for him, and he knew nothing about selling, he'd give me a kick in the backside and say, no go. Like, we need this business. You got to go do it. Because he knew I could do it. Sure. So he would hug me and kick me at the same time. And I was okay with that.
Quite a system.
You know what I mean? Not kick me.
I do. Right, exactly. Not physically.
So that was for me what I realized, man, this guy's in my camp and has been in my camp my entire life. To this day.
So he was both, and still is, he was a personal and a professional champion, if you will. And do you have champions today that you feel have had an impact on you besides this person?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all, as you kind of grow up in the professional world and you have a little bit of success and a little bit of failure,
sure.
or in most cases a lot of failure and hopefully some success.
That's right.
You do have champions, or you better, because it becomes a long, lonely road if you don't.
And they might be situational. Right?
Yeah, absolutely, it could be situational.
Champion.
Right. I mean, you and I, for example, when we work together,
absolutely.
and years after, I still feel like, you know, you were a champion for me and I was a champion for you.
That's
and that's
right.
for sometimes saying, hey, like, I don't know how to say it nicely. So like, hey, your team sucks, or hey, E, your team sucks and we need to do things better.
Right.
And about doing those things better, that's about being the champion. Friends are friends. And I made a note about this. Friends are going to be your friends.
Yes.
Right? They're going to stick through it. And we're going to talk about drama after this. But friends are going to be friends. Champions are going to tell you the good and the bad.
That's right. They're going to be blatantly honest.
But they're going to help you get through the bad to get you to the good so
That's
that
right.
you can continue to improve.
That's right.
You know what? I mean, you talked about yours. I mean, you must have had some professionally or realized that you had a champion that kind of has still maybe continues to take you down a path that when you need it.
Without a doubt. And I find, as I mentioned before, sometimes champions can be situational. And when I think about the champions that have consistently been there for me, they're definitely out there, and I appreciate them every situation that I have an encounter where I need them more than one can imagine. And starting with my parents. My parents were definitely, and still to this day, are my champions. But one of the things that I was thinking about in terms of either being a champion or looking for a champion is the fact that there are people out there that for some reason they either seek out or are a magnet for drama. and this isn't necessarily a good thing in terms of, because it's going to impact their relationship with their champion. And whether they realize it or not, at some point that champion may in fact just say, okay, I can't deal with this anymore. There's way too much drama. I'm trying to help you, but you're not letting me support you. And I think that that's something that I've seen a lot of, and I always question, and when I see that happening, I do call people out on this, and most of the time it's a perception thing. They're not aware of the fact that they are coming across as a drama king or queen.
Sure.
And we've kind of talked about this a little bit before.
Yep.
And I just feel like there really isn't a place for drama kings or queens, especially in the world that we live in today. There's just too much going on, and people need to be aware of that.
Yeah, absolutely, right. So we take that to the workplace. So I work for a smaller company. I don't see as much drama, right? People keep their head down. They do their job. We all try to help each other for the most part. There's a lot of BS that goes on in small companies that there's just no way around it, right?
No, it happens.
But in large companies that we've both worked for, that's where I see it.
The
right?
most.
More people means more drama.
That's
and
right.
I just, save the drama for your mama, right? There's no place, nothing positive comes out of drama. Nothing. There's nothing positive that can come out of it. We all have drama in our lives, Murph. We have personal lives. Good things happen, bad things happen.
Of course.
It's easy to be dramatic and say, oh gosh, et cetera, especially in the time we live in now. But man, there's no room. Nothing positive comes out of it.
So what have you said to someone when you realize that they are overly dramatic, that perhaps you've been the champion of? Have you ever had to step back and say, I'm out, this isn't going to work for me?
Sure.
You haven't been listening to any advice that I've been giving you. You completely just hit the ignore button all the time, and I reached my limit of being able to help you, so I think that I need to step away.
Sure, absolutely. So just very recently, I have a friend that's going through a divorce. Her and a husband just should have been divorced a long time ago. It just didn't happen. Going through a divorce, they're divorced now, but the drama every day, it's the same story and going through things. And I just said finally, like, listen, I want to help you.
Right.
I want to help both of you, but I can't, right? I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm your friend.
Yes.
I'm a champion for you on the other side of things, but you both need to kind of move forward here.
Right, right. Were they surprised by that
No
comment?
one likes to hear it, right?
No,
but you're the bad guy when you say that, but then you get a message
delivered
thanking you, right?
Yes.
A week or two weeks later when they have a chance to kind of reassess.
That's right.
And reach out to other friends because they want to hear it.
That's right.
I mean, you've been in the same situation, I'm sure.
I have, where I had a friend, and I'm still friends with this person, But for many, many years, she would look to me and call me her trusted advisor, and yet every single time I was trying to help her, I felt like there were instances where she just did the complete opposite or just did nothing at all. And it was really frustrating. And I'd call her out and I'd say, did you mean to actually ignore what I told you? Oh, I meant to do that, Kathy. I'm really sorry. But after a while of hearing that on a repetitive basis,
it's on loop.
It was
It
totally
is
on loop. Yes.
Loop. And say, so
Yes.
now I just said, I don't want to hear it. Don't
Right.
ask me. You are doing the exact opposite. I've done this in my personal life, as I told you, and it's happened in the workplace.
Right.
As a
right.
manager, as a friend, as a salesperson,
That's
as
right.
a higher level manager.
Right.
Don't ask for help if you're not going to take a little bit of my advice.
And sometimes you have to have that difficult conversation with somebody. And I had to have that difficult conversation with her, and I wasn't sure which way it would go.
Okay.
And it really, it changed the dynamics of our relationship in a really good way. And it was that kick that she needed.
Good.
Because nobody else had really gotten through to her. There were other people that were trying to help her, and they ditched and ran away a long time before I did. And I just kind of hung in there. And then I just got to the point where I was just like, look, I have better things to do with my time than wasting it on this process that doesn't seem to be going anywhere.
Yeah.
So in terms of finding a champion, that's something that I'm going to talk a little bit about, and I've got some tips because I think that sometimes one of the things that I want to say up front is that oftentimes our champion is right in front of us and we don't realize it.
Right.
So in addition to that, some of the things that I am going to share are, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I woke up at 2 o'clock this morning because I'm like, I can't wait to hear Murph's tips. Because I know
2
they're
o'clock,
coming, right?
wow,
So,
I'm impressed.
Yeah.
Wow.
Fresh as a daisy, so go ahead.
My gosh. So most parents are playing a role of a champion in someone's lives, but not always. And if you haven't been embraced by this fact and had somebody as a parent contributing to this particular role, it's possibly because they were in a situation where you weren't accepting their help, or perhaps sadly, there are parents or people that play the role of a parent that just are not suited to be able to support you for a myriad of reasons. And then, of course, I think it's really important to look for coaches and teachers and others who you've interacted in your life. Maybe you have to kind of go back a little bit and think about the roles that they've played to support you. And because they're always going to have your best interest in mind, and they're naturally skilled at being one of your champions. And then really don't shy away from seeking those people out, even if you haven't spoken to them for a while. I'm sure they'll be definitely ready to kind of step up to the plate, if you will. And then someone you think of as your mentor or advisor can also play a role of your champion. And in the workplace, hopefully most people have somebody that's in that particular role. And I personally myself have a number of people that play the role of mentor for me. And I know that they're always going to be there for me. And I seek out different types of people that are in my network to play that role. And sometimes, as I said earlier, it's situational. Sometimes I may just need somebody for a particular conundrum that I'm in that I need their help with figuring out. But my earliest memory of a mentor champion was definitely my summer camp counselor that I referenced before. And when I'm also learning to do new things, I seek out people that I know have been there, done that before. And I think that's critically important. What about you? How have you gone about seeking out people, especially in scenarios where you may be in a situation where you haven't encountered whatever that situation is before, and you need to go find that person that has that experience?
Yeah, so I think as you get a little bit older, and I talk about this all the time, right? I think there's nothing that can, as you get in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, and unfortunately a little, at my advanced age, a little bit older than that, but you have a little more time and you start thinking and looking at things differently.
Yes.
And you realize who brought the drama and who's been on your side and who has your back both personally and professionally. So, I knew it kind of early on, and I knew where I wanted to go. And even now, as I've gotten older, I was actually thinking about this because I texted a couple of guys, and you know this, I coached all my kids' teams and different things, and
Which is
you know,
amazing.
yeah, I was not easy. I probably was a lot harder than I ever should have been. They were kids, and I'm not proud of it now. I think about those things. But I texted a couple of guys that I coached my son's team with in basketball, and I said, oh gosh, I cover big territory here in the East, and I said, man, I have a lot of time, and I've been thinking about this team, and we should get them all back together. And now there's seniors in high school. Now it's about how do we keep the beer away rather than them throwing French fries. I said, but I'm thinking about, man, I wish I was a little bit different coach. And they both said almost back at the same time, Coach, no regrets. And you think about those things as you get older.
I just got the shivers.
Right, because you do get regrets. I regret not being, I've tried to be a champion for a number of people that you and I worked with.
Yes.
People that I worked with when I was younger, because I appreciate people helping me through Little League and through high school, and you work your way up.
That's right.
There's a number of them.
What's interesting about what you just said also is the fact that you were looking through such a different lens. You were looking at being the coach and coaching those people, and you may be thinking that you had some regrets, whereas they're looking at you as you were their coach, and so they saw you through maybe a very different lens. And as they said, no regrets. So whatever it was that you did, they appreciated it. And
yeah, well, some of the parents did, some of them didn't. We live in a different world nowadays.
Everybody,
right? Yeah, they
right?
can't please everybody.
There's no way to do that.
You're exactly right, Murph. I mean, we look at things now, and I don't want to go off script too much here, but we have a lot of wisdom. We have a lot of experience as we get older, good and bad.
That's right.
And I just look at when I, saw, suggestions and ideas, it's really simple. Open your mind, help people, try to take them down a path that you went down and did the wrong things. Give them that experience.
That's right.
Because that's the champion was saying, I know you can do it. This is how I did things. There's a big difference to me besides being a friend, a mentor, and a champion. They're three different things, and they mean three different things to me.
That's right.
Tell me about you. I mean, ideas, thoughts,
I've got some more suggestions, and the next one is to consider aspects of your life, personally and professionally, that might need additional support. Mm-hmm. And because there are always areas that we may even have some blind sides to in terms of, I should probably be thinking about developing that particular area. I was speaking at the University of Massachusetts Lowell yesterday to an English class, and one of the things that I was telling these students about was, you're in this class to, yes, learn how to write, but this is really more about learning how to use the power of writing to open up opportunities for you. Mm-hmm. And I want you to look at this class differently as a result of what I'm saying to you right now. Don't look at it as, I have these assignments and this is boring and I just have to check off this box of getting through this class. It can be a lot more than that if you allow it to be. So, and one of the other things that I encouraged them to think about was public speaking. I said, you're going to open up a lot more opportunities, and public speaking could be in many different contexts. It could be in the context of simply speaking up during the time that I was lecturing to them.
Sure.
Speaking up in a meeting going forward when they're in the workplace. That could be a form of public speaking. It doesn't have to be speaking in front of 10,000 people.
Right.
So I think that I kind of set some people back on their heels a little bit by that suggestion, because they were surprised by that. I said, but this can be one of the most powerful things that you can potentially become better at, and they were kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be great in 5 years if somebody reaches out to you and said, hey, Ms. Murf, I really appreciate what you did in that English class. It resonated with me, and I, in turn, have been able to not only kind of take that as great advice and you counseling us on that, but also I've been able to give it back.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly.
And
that's
become a champion for other people or my kids or whatever it may be.
That's
to write and look differently.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. The other thing that I told people was that choose your words carefully, use them as if they're currency, and use them well. And I also talked a little bit about time. In terms of, you've got 60 minutes in each hour. Think about how you're investing each of those minutes. But we're off track a little bit here, but I think it was important to mention this just because I think that as a mentor, as a champion, this could be advice that could be given to just about anybody.
Sure.
That's going to be applicable. Asking someone to be your champion happens sometimes more organically than you think. When you look around, I think that there are probably going to be more people out there that are probably going to be open to being your champion that you might give it credit. And a lot of times, by what I mean organically, is that sometimes people will adopt you. You don't even know that they're your champion. They just kind of adopt you, and then that just happens, which is wonderful. And then perhaps you are someone's champion. Maybe you don't know that you're someone's champion. Maybe they've only sort of reached out to you a couple of different times, but they really needed you at that point. And so factor in thinking about the fact that there may have been some engagements that you've had with people that they were reaching out and looking at you as their champion and you didn't even know it. So be mindful of that.
Well, I think it has to happen organically. I could never imagine growing up through my years in personal or business world to say, hey, will you be my champion? Right? It has to happen organically.
Yes.
And I still see it now for people that I managed throughout the years that I still talk to. They still say, hey, will you be my reference?
That's
hey,
right.
how do you help me through this interview? Or
That's right.
how would you handle this sales situation? To me, there's just nothing better.
No,
there's nothing better.
I completely agree. And then being another person's champion is an incredibly noble role to play, let's face it, and one that requires you to be unselfish, certainly, giving of your time and energy and experience, and to always be there for that person, no excuses. You can't say, I'm busy right now. You know, you've got to be there for that person no matter what. Particularly when they're in difficult situations, of course, and helping them to navigate through that process. So, any other suggestions that you might have, or have you tried any of these suggestions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think it's you're right. It is noble and it is quite an honor, quite honestly, to have these people reach back out to you with all the people that we all come across in the professional world in our personal life.
That's right.
But you got to be brutally honest.
You have to.
Take them down. That's one tip that I could just say as a champion. Be honest, but don't just be honest to hurt. Be honest to help. I don't think if you're a champion, you're going to hurt anybody, but what you want to do is be honest and always say, don't bring me a problem, bring me a solution. Bring them a solution to take them down a path that may be something different, because you don't often see I hate to say this, see the forest through the trees.
Yes.
But the truth is, when you're in that moment, that person might not be able to see it, where we as champions, friends, whatever it may be, are able to see something differently.
Exactly.
Take them down a path that maybe that they hadn't thought of.
And
is it right or wrong? Who knows?
And coach them through maybe some solutions. Maybe they're stuck. They're paralyzed. They can't think of even one solution. So give them some sort of hints to ease them into potentially coming up with their own solution that's right in front of them.
Yep.
And guide them through that process.
Hug them, kick them in the backside,
whatever
put
it
them on their
takes.
way, whatever it takes.
That's right, exactly. And don't be afraid that you're going to select the wrong piece of advice to give to them.
You're not going to hurt somebody's feelings. If you have that relationship and they look at you that way, it's more of a thank you than it is, trying to hurt you.
I completely agree with you. And I can't believe how quickly this topic
Let's go for another hour.
was covered by us.
Again, I'm sure the studio audience wouldn't mind. You guys don't mind.
Exactly. Well, I haven't seen you for a while, so
I
I'm
know.
sure they would probably enjoy that.
Yeah, right.
But I want to, thank everybody today for being here and listening to this particular topic. Join us again for another episode of Murf+E Unfiltered, Zero BS Biz Talk. And thanks again, Eliot, for coming back. I can't wait to see you again in the studio.
It's great, Murph. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.